All right, we're moving on to the next section. This is section 2.3, part 1. We're going to talk about the remainder theorem and the factor theorems. But before we actually get into those particular theorems, we need to learn how to divide polynomials. Okay, so what we're going to learn how to do today is how to divide polynomials using long division and synthetic division. Okay, so let's look at the first example. It says, suppose you have a function. Okay, so here's our function, 6x cubed minus 25x squared plus 18x plus 9. If you know that f has a 0 at x equals 3, so x equals 3 is one of the x-intercepts of this function. Okay, it says then you know that x minus 3 is a factor. So remember, we always have to switch our sign. So because this is an x minus 3, okay, you have to switch it to a positive 3, and we always do that. Okay. So it's telling you that x equals 3 is a function, so x minus 3 is our factor. All right. So it says factor completely using long division, and we're going to learn how to do this using long division. And it's literally the same long division you used when you were in elementary school. Okay, so let's see how we do this. All right, so our important part is this x. So this is what you got to say to yourself. What do I have to multiply x by to get 6x cubed? What do I multiply x by to get 6x cubed? Okay, so this is really a 1, so I have to do 1 times what equals 6. Hopefully you see that it's 6. And then what do I have to multiply x by to get x cubed? X squared. And why am I putting it over the x squared? Because these match up. You always want to put these squareds with the squareds. So what do I multiply x by to get 6x squared? Or 6x cubed? I multiply it by 6x squared. Okay, now what did we do in elementary school? We multiplied. 6x squared times x is 6x cubed. 6x squared times negative 3 is negative 18x squared. And then the same thing we did in elementary school, we're going to subtract. 6x cubed minus 6x cubed goes away, so those cancel. Negative 25x squared minus a minus, so this is plus. Negative 25 plus 18x squared is negative 7x squared. And then bring down the next term. So everything is the same that you did in elementary school. And then the process starts over. Okay? So what do I have to, let me get rid of this one here, it's distracting. What do I have to multiply x by to get negative 7x squared? What do I multiply x by to get negative 7x squared? So hopefully you see that it's negative 7x. Once you have the piece, you multiply. Negative 7x times x is negative 7x squared. Negative 7x times negative 3 is positive 21x. All right, so let's see what we have here. So remember, we're subtracting now. And notice the first set of numbers should always cancel. Negative 7x squared plus 7x squared should cancel. Okay, so now what do we have here? We have 18x minus 21. 18 take away 21 is negative 3x. Bring down the plus 9. How do we bring down the next term? Okay, process starts again. What do I multiply x by to get negative 3x? Hopefully you see that that's negative 3. Multiply. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. And then we're going to subtract. Negative 3 minus minus 3 cancels. 9 minus 9 equals 0. So our final piece of the puzzle right there is 6x squared minus 7x minus 3. All right, so we have... So let me show you what we have here. Let me scoot all this over. All right, so basically what we have is our original problem is equal to x minus 3 times 6x squared minus 7x minus 3. Okay, so what we divided by and then what we got as our quotient, you have to multiply those two together. Okay, so let's factor this. So this part's already factored. Now let's factor this 6x squared part. So how do we get 6x squared? 2x and a 3x. Hopefully that makes sense. How do I get negative 3? Okay, we get negative 3 by multiplying negative 3 times a positive 1. Okay, that works. Now we have to check this. We have to check and make sure this works. Remember the outside 2 and the inside 2. So 2x times 1 is 2x. Negative 3 times 3 is negative 9x. 2 minus 9 should be my negative 7. Okay, so we have our factored problem. Okay, and get rid of this, and now we can get our answers. All right, so the answer to the one on the left is equal to 3. Remember, we switched the signs. So this one we would add 3 and divide by 2. So that's 3 halves. So remember, we're just solving 2x minus 3 equals 0. So we get 3 halves. And this one we would subtract 1 to the other side and divide by 3. So negative 1/3. So there is our 3 answers. This was an x cubed problem originally. Okay, notice we go back. It was an x cubed. So we should have 3 answers. 3 halves, negative 1/3. Okay, and we use long division to do so. All right, so let's try this one. We're going to factor completely using long division. Okay, so let's try. So I'm going to do x plus 6, and we're going to do a long division bar, x cubed plus 7x squared plus 4x minus 12. All right, so let's try this. What do I have to multiply x by to get x cubed? Well, hopefully you see that that's just x squared. Okay, we're going to multiply x squared times x is x cubed. X squared times 6 is 6x squared. And then we're going to multiply, or subtract, sorry. X cubed minus x cubed goes away. 7x squared, take away 6x squared is 1x squared. And then bring down your next term. 1x squared. What do I multiply x by to get 1x squared? Hopefully you see that that's just 1x. X times x is x squared. X times 6 is 6x. Subtract. X squared minus x squared goes away. 4x minus 6x is negative 2x. And then bring down your last, oops, I forgot the x. And then bring down your negative 12. Okay? All right, last step here. What do I multiply x by to get negative 2x? Okay, hopefully you see that it's just negative 2. I'm going to multiply now. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times 6 is negative 12. I'm going to subtract. Negative 2x minus a minus, that would be plus, so that goes away. Negative 12 minus a minus is 0, so there's no remainder. All right, so let's see what we have here. So whatever we divided by, x plus 6, and we're going to multiply that by what we got as our answer, x squared plus x minus 2. All right, so let's factor x plus 6, and then we have 2 sets of parentheses, so x times x is x squared. What two numbers multiply to be negative 2 and add to 1x? Multiply to be negative 2, but add to 1. So positive 2, negative 1. Okay, that should work. So our 3 answers are negative 6, negative 2, positive 1. Okay, we fully factored that long division problem. We know all the factors, all the x, and these are all x-intercepts of that original problem. Negative 6, negative 2, and 1. Okay? All right, so we are going to leave, this one says, long division can result in a 0 remainder, as we did in example 1. So the last two, notice the last two problems, we didn't have any remainder. We got 0 at the bottom. Okay, we had 0 at the bottom. Sometimes a remainder happens. Okay, so we're going to see a problem that actually gives you a remainder. All right, so we're going to 3x plus 2, and we're going to divide by 9x cubed. Now notice our x squared term is gone, so we have to put a placeholder in. It's plus 0x squared minus x minus 3. It has to go 3, 2, 1, 0. All right, so what do I multiply 3x by to get 9x cubed? Okay, hopefully you see that that's 3x squared. Multiply 3x squared times 3x is 9x cubed. 3x squared times 2 is 6x squared. Subtract. 9x cubed minus 9x cubed goes away. 0x squared, take away 6x squared is negative 6x squared. Bring down the minus x. All right, so what do I have to multiply 3x by to get negative 6x squared? So negative 2, when I multiply x by to get x squared, I multiply by an x. Multiply. Negative 2 times 3x is negative 6x squared. Negative 2x times positive 2 is negative 4x. I'm going to subtract. The first 2 will always cancel as long as you did it correctly. So this is negative 1x minus a minus. So this is plus 1 plus 4. Negative 1 plus 4 is 3x. Bring down the last number. All right, so let's see what we get here. Oops, this was from the last one. I didn't delete that. Sorry. All right, so what do I multiply 3x by to get 3x? Well, that's just positive 1. Multiply. 1 times 3x is 3x. 1 times 2 is 2. Subtract. 3x, take away 3x goes away. Negative 3 minus 2 is negative 5. So now notice there's nothing else to bring down, so this is our remainder. Okay, that's our remainder. All right, so how do we write the answer now? So the number on top is our answer, 3x squared minus 2x plus 1, and we have to add a remainder to it. So this is how you write it. You do plus, okay, whatever our remainder is, negative 5, over whatever our divisor was, which is 3x minus 2. And that is how you write your answer to a division problem. So whatever the number is on top, and you add to it whatever your remainder was. So plus negative 5, and then you put it over 3x plus 2. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. All right, so I'm going to skip this one. We'll probably do this one in class. I'm going to skip this one as well. We'll probably do this one in class as well. And then we're going to go to synthetic division. We're going to finish this up. Okay, synthetic division is a shortcut to long division if the factor you are dividing by is in the form x minus c or x plus c. So notice what we're dividing by is x minus c. Okay, so this is how you do synthetic division. It's actually really, really easy. All right, so this is how you do it. You're going to put this little half box, and you're going to change the number. If this is negative 3, we're going to use positive 3. All right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to list our coefficients. 6, negative 25, 18, positive 9. And notice that there are no missing exponents, 3, 2, 1, 0, so we don't need any placeholders. And then we're going to have an empty box down here in the right corner. All right, so these are the steps. The steps are the same every time. The first step is to bring the first number down. Then we're going to multiply. 3 times 6 is 18. Put that in the empty space. Now we're going to add. Negative 25 plus 18 is negative 7. Now we're going to multiply. Negative 7 times 3 is negative 21. Now we're going to add again. 18 plus a negative 21 is negative 3. Multiply. Negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. Add. 9 plus negative 9 is 0. Okay, so now how do we write our answer? All right, so once we have this synthetic division down, we need to be able to write our answer out. So how do we write that? Okay, so whatever exponent you start with, you're going to drop it down 1. So we're starting with an x cubed, so we're going to drop our answer down to an x squared. So here's our coefficients. So we have 6x squared, and then I go to x, so minus 7x, and then minus 3. It has no remainder, so I don't need to write anything else. And then this, so this right here is your remainder. Okay, we do not have one for this one, so I don't need to put anything after my problem. So these are the coefficients of our answer, and we always drop it down 1 exponent. Okay, so we are also going to leave example 7 for in class. Hopefully this makes some sense. This should be reviewed. You should have done this in Algebra 2. If not, we'll go over it again tomorrow. Have a good night.